U.S. Marines. More than 700 U.S. Marines have been mobilized to respond to protests in Los Angeles, some of which turned violent over the weekend. One county official called last night, quote, probably one of the most volatile nights in the city's recent history. Police declared all of downtown Los Angeles, an area of about 5 square miles, an unlawful assembly area after a third night of protests turned violent. The Los Angeles police chief late last night saying, quote, this violence that I've seen is disgusting, unquote. Some of the protesters, or more accurately, rioters, shot commercial-grade fireworks at law enforcement officers. Others set self-driving cars on fire. CNN witnessed police using flashbangs and tear gas to disperse crowds. Police arrested 27 people just yesterday alone. All of this started on Friday. That's when Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, conducted workplace raids in L.A. The Department of Homeland Security said operations in L.A. last week resulted in the arrest of 118 undocumented immigrants, including 5 gang members and others with prior criminal histories of drug trafficking, assault, cruelty to children, domestic violence, robbery, and alien smuggling. The roots of this aggressive ICE activity last week may have been seen last month when top Trump aide Stephen Miller, sources tell CNN, demanded that immigration agents ramp up deportation efforts and seek to arrest 3,000 undocumented immigrants a day. 3,000, that's triple the number of daily arrests from the early days of Trump's term. In response to the ICE action,
I don't really like committing
Friday,
to things.
some
I'm scared.
protesters began
But when Verizon announced that I could lock in a low price for 3 years, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And not only downtown, but about 10 miles east in Paramount, California. Now, law enforcement says that protesters moved in on them and officers used flashbangs to disperse the crowd. The FBI's Los Angeles field office announced a $50,000 reward for information on a man that the LAPD says assaulted an officer and damaged property. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass said ICE gave city officials no warnings of these raids, which made it difficult, if not impossible, to plan for quelling any spontaneous protests. Then on Saturday, President Trump took the rare, major step of deploying the California National Guard despite the objections of the Democratic governor of California, Gavin Newsom. This was the first time a president called in the National Guard without a state's request or consent since Lyndon Johnson did it in 1965. President Trump yesterday told reporters that any violence against any law enforcement officers is unacceptable.
Best and worst vinegars for weight loss.
Do not take apple cider vinegar before you see this. Vinegar works to help you slim down.
I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military, which they do as a common thing.
Trump offended there by the notion of spitting on police officers or military while protesting immigration enforcement. He says that's not okay. We would be remiss if we did not point out that it was just 4 months ago that the very same president pardoned a different group for beating police officers while storming the U.S. Capitol to object to the 2020 election results. You will never hear Trump or top deputy Stephen Miller call that attack on January 6, 2021 an insurrection. But Stephen Miller did use that term to describe the protests in Los Angeles, calling it, quote, an insurrection against the laws and sovereignty of the United States. There are quite a few, shall we call them, evolving positions taken by Democrats and Republicans since a year ago, when some Democrats were urging President Biden to federalize the National Guard in Texas to stop that state's Republican governor's anti-immigration, illegal immigration efforts. And the woman who is now our Homeland Security Secretary, then South Dakota Governor Kristi Rome, took to MAGA media and to Twitter to say, quote, if Joe Biden federalizes the National Guard, that would direct attack on states' rights, unquote. But be that as it may, we are where we are here, and Republicans would argue that Democrats have played a role in all of this by not enforcing immigration laws for decades, setting the stage for President Trump to begin this aggressive pattern of deportations, which he ran and won on. A new CBS News poll taken before the ICE action in Los Angeles finds that 55% of the Americans polled approve of the goals of Trump's deportation program, but 56% are not sold on the approach he is using to carry it out. CNN's Kyung La is on the ground in Los Angeles for us now with all the latest on how Governor Newsom today is firing back against Trump's actions.
They come for one. They come for all.
Calm following chaos in downtown Los Angeles. A peaceful protest not far from LA's City Hall.
Hey, hey, hey!
And a strong police presence near the federal building. All of downtown has been declared an unlawful assembly area after hundreds of protesters took to the streets in this part of the city, clashing with local law enforcement and the National Guard. The protests sparked by local immigration raids like this one unfolding across Los Angeles.
That's f***ed up, look.
Witnesses too afraid to speak on camera watch and film as Immigration and Customs Enforcement arrested street vendors at gunpoint. Outside the LA Coliseum, the site of the Olympic Games that will be held here, some protesters violently pushing back against these raids on Sunday, burning cars, defacing buildings. National Guard troops fired back, blasting tear gas and pepper spray. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass blaming the unrest squarely on the Trump administration.
If immigration raids had not happened here, we would not have the disorder that went on last night.
And saying the unrest escalated after hundreds of California National Guard troops arrived on scene Sunday, deployed by President Donald Trump, overriding city and state leaders. California Governor Gavin Newsom saying in a post the president flamed the fires and illegally acted to federalize the National Guard. California's Attorney General added the state plans to file suit over the order to send in the troops.
They did so without authorization from Governor Newsom and against the wishes of local law enforcement who were on the ground.
It felt like fuel for a fire that was unnecessary. It was 100 people. 27 people were arrested. There wasn't a reason for this. That is the concern.
Trump posting that he made a great decision sending in the Guard, saying otherwise Los Angeles would be completely obliterated.
The people that are causing the problem are professional agitators, they're insurrectionists.
And what you're looking at live is this crowd. This is a new protest that has sprung up in just the last hour or so, and it is on the move in Los Angeles. We are in downtown Los Angeles. We're walking with this crowd, and
that is where a lot of people show up to submit immigration paperwork. You oftentimes see a long line of people outside waiting to get inside to get whatever they need done there. So it makes sense that this crowd has gathered there, a large crowd, and even in the 30 or so minutes that we've been on the air, we can tell that the crowd has gotten a little larger.
Yeah, and on the right side, we can actually see they are moving. They were gathered, and now we see that they're actually moving along the freeway there. Is that the 101 or is that the 110?
A goal that I can't quite ascertain from the walk that we're looking at. But it's a sizable crowd, as you can see.
All right, Kyung La, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Kyung La on the streets of Los Angeles. With us now, Democratic Congresswoman Nanette Barragán of California. Her district, in her congressional district, includes a community of Paramount, which is just south of Los Angeles. Some protests flared up in Paramount this weekend. Congresswoman, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. So yesterday you spoke with CNN's Dana Bash on State of the Union. You acknowledged that not all the demonstrators have been peaceful. And you said, quote, those are not the people that are coming out to protest immigration. So who do you think the people who are not peaceful are? Are they outside agitators, as President Trump says?
As we live in a digital-first world, so much of our collaboration is digital. For us, high-speed internet allows people to have a very clear picture of us and a very clear video, which is important to our brand. That's why we have Spectrum Internet.
So today's the day. I've got my RTA mock system and Coyote appliances. And they did tell me it was only going to take a few minutes. And I got to say, they were right. The big old box came from the shipping company. We pulled the front and back panels out, lined them up parallel. My wife Allie and I, we pulled together all of the pieces, and then that amazing system.
They definitely could be. We've certainly heard some could be anarchists, people who are looking for trouble. People are just in the evenings looking for some trouble to make. So I don't think those are the people that are out to protest the mass deportations. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing people angry that you're having mass deportations happening in Los Angeles after months of seeing this administration send ICE agents to hospitals to wait for women to have labor, sitting there in the Labor Department to separate their kid and try to deport the mother, to schools to take kids, and of course now just rounding up people. There is no targeted enforcement. We know they're going to like Home Depot lots to look for people who are looking for jobs. They're not criminals, and that is the outrage that you're seeing. And I think that if ICE left, I think if the National Guard left, you would see this all die down. There is a way to do immigration enforcement. It's been done before. This is just the president's way to escalate things, to cause tension, and I think really to distract what's happening in Washington on all the failures, whether it's the economy tanking, whether prices going up, whether the millions he's going to take away from health care. This is the master in a show, and this is what he wanted.
I want to get to that in a second, but just in point of fact, you said they're not criminals. If somebody from the Trump administration were here, they'd say they may not be violent criminals, but if they're in this country illegally, they're criminals. You say that deportations can be done, or immigration enforcement can be done peacefully. What's the way to do it peacefully if not raiding places where undocumented folks are? I mean, the position of the Trump administration would be, if you're not in this country legally, you shouldn't be in this country. I mean, that's what they would argue.
And this is a misconception that if you're in this country legally, that you're a criminal, because it's a civil matter. It's not a criminal matter. But there's a way to go after people. We've been doing this forever, and that is they know where the serious criminal offenders are, and they send folks out to get them. They don't just go massively round up people.
Does your wallet look like this? Okay, let's talk about it. We've all ignored red flags before, but carrying around a busted, bloated wallet in 2025? That's not bold. That's a cry for help.
At the ready with those rubber bullets. What happened yesterday, to kind of refresh everybody's memory, is that you had a very tense standoff very similar to this on the other side of the building. What we see here is a group 100 strong, and as we can clearly see in this shot today, most of those people are very peacefully protesting and exercising their First Amendment rights. There are agitators in this crowd and some very loud people at the front of the line here. If they taunt those officers, if they so much as toss one object at a National Guardsman or at a Homeland Security official, that's when everything changes. And what you would expect to see under normal circumstances, what we would normally see, is you would see a physical confrontation where those police would remove the agitator, confront the agitator, take down the agitator with any force that they have if they need to, and allow the group to protest. What happened yesterday, though, is that once there was a confrontation on the other side of the building, the authorities, the federal authorities in this case, immediately resorted to launching tear gas into the peaceful protest. So instead of dealing with the agitators and the most violent people in the crowd individually, they immediately resorted to force that caused the whole group to revolt. And that was really the beginning of the chaos that led to a night of disaster last night. Hopefully we will not see that today, but we clearly have a large group of protesters, a growing protest at that, as we get into the late afternoon, most of them peaceful for now, but a small group, a small number. All it takes is one bad apple in that crowd to start trouble with law enforcement, and that's where you have a major confrontation, and that could spark, you know, all kinds of problems. So just in the few minutes we've been focusing on the front of this building, Josh, if you could widen out one more time, it's actually grown quite a bit here. This crowd is continuing to grow ever so slightly, little by little, as those people who were protesting on the other side of the building and down the block, marching around, they're all kind of converging, coming back here to this focal point along Los Angeles Street, 700 block of Los Angeles Street in front of the federal building, Mark.
Christy, this is Giovanna Lotta joining you and Mark Cota-Robles now on this coverage. And I just wanted to ask Mark, because you interviewed DA Nathan Hochman earlier today, and he was very clear about his message. He said, if you want to peacefully protest, please do. If you want to hurl comments to any of the authorities, go ahead, feel free. But as soon as you hurl a brick or something that could hurt them, that changes the situation. You want to expand on that?
Yeah, so it was very interesting interviewing DA Nathan Hochman this afternoon, and he told me that he had not been into downtown today. I was asking him what he was seeing, you know, around his office, the Hall of Justice, which has been right in the heart of the protest and unrest over the weekend. And certainly this is not a catch and release situation. I think there'd be a lot of concern from Angelenos, people in these impacted areas as these protests may continue, of people, these criminals, these agitators who take it to the next level, who cross that line into criminal activity, of them being released, that they get detained and then they get released how many days later, the same day, whatever it may be. And he said if it's a situation that involves the violence, that will not happen, that charges will be filed to the fullest extent of the law, and especially so if these are so-called professional agitators, perhaps individuals who are known to law enforcement. Maybe they are individuals who have been involved in prior protests. They are known to them, say the unrest that we saw in 2020. If we locate those individuals, all that's happening still right now, those individuals will be facing even stricter penalties, harsher charges. So certainly they're taking it very seriously obviously, from the law enforcement side. And DA Nathan Hochman, again, he was the one who told me that statement that they don't want to make these arrests. They encourage peaceful protest. When you cross that line, then come the charges, and certainly they don't want to see that happening, but they will do their job as all of this unfolds on day 4.
Yeah, and oftentimes it just takes one or two of these agitators to create a problem and a situation that gets out of hand very quickly. But right now, as we're looking live from Air 7, Chris Christie and Air 7 over this crowd, it does appear to be remaining peaceful. Chris?
Exactly, Giovanna. It is very peaceful, has been peaceful all day long, and we can only hope that it stays that way. As you guys just mentioned, though, one aggressive protester gives them the justification to start using force. And while in many situations we typically see law enforcement making every effort not to use force, this week and weekend has been a bit different, where those federal authorities have been.
Learn how to support those who give us so much. Earn your BS in Animal Science 100% online at Unity Environmental University. Join a learning community where science and compassion connect, and give back by doing what you love.
The all-new signature.
See that here, and by the time the National Guard got here, it was already way after the violence had taken place. So now we see the National Guard coming in quickly this weekend to help defend this federal property. And what we are kind of noticing is that as much as they can, it appears that the LAPD has been trying to create a buffer between the protest zone and the federal officials. If they can keep some distance between protesters and federal authorities, that will help alleviate some of the violence that we have seen, because the anger is not placed at the LAPD. This is a somewhat unique situation where most of the anger and destruction was really until last night, where things got out of control and we did see lots of vandalism and pandemonium. For the most part, the anger amongst the protesters is aimed squarely at the federal government, not local authorities, not private citizens, not private property. All of the anger is focused on the ICE actions that have been taking place here in Southern California.
And the protests today the peaceful protests began at Grand Park, Gloria Molina Grand Park, at 12 noon today, and they were gathered to protest the arrest and detainment of civil rights and labor leader David Huerta. We now know he was in federal custody. He was in a detention center, but we now know he has been released, and he spoke out earlier today.
And part of his conditions, he has to stay away from federal officers and operations on his $50,000 bail, and he was released this afternoon. He spoke within the last hour. We just had some of his interview during Eyewitness News at 3 p.m. So his storyline is something that we will continue to follow. He did say our best days are still ahead. And Chris, pretty interesting as far as the response here is what is to come. Of course, we've had the federal agents, we've had local law enforcement, LAPD and LA County Sheriff's deputies involved in all of this now for the past 4 days, along with the addition of the California National Guard. And our reporting that we will now add to coming up for Eyewitness News at 4 p.m. is the Pentagon formally deploying 700 Marines from 29 Palms to assist in Los Angeles. Chris, this is unprecedented. Any expectations from you on what that may look like? I know we don't have all the answers, but 700 Marines, that is something that we have never seen before, for them to be added into this mix and potentially to raise escalations once again.
I mean, exactly. The question is, what are they going to do when they get here? What will their responsibilities be? And I learned just this morning that they do not have rules of engagement on domestic territory. There is no precedent for this, as you mentioned. There are rules of force, which is a modest difference between rules of engagement and rules of force, and the difference is beyond my pay grade. But as you mentioned, the National Guard here defending the federal property, they are armed, but those weapons are, we understand, empty. They are not loaded. I imagine and presume it'll be a similar situation with the Marines when they arrive. I think my presumption is this is all a show of force as opposed to anything else. We can only hope that that's the case. You know, law enforcement has real responsibility to keep the peace. Our local law enforcement, LAPD, LA County Sheriff, California Highway Patrol, they have real responsibilities on their jurisdiction to keep the peace on city streets. The military, by all accounts, has no jurisdiction to engage in law enforcement activity on American streets. But it's complicated and it's unprecedented. So what we're going to see is going to be, you know, something we haven't seen since the 1960s. And, you know, we can only hope that things are as peaceful as we can imagine.
Absolutely. And to that point, we do have new reaction coming in from LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell on this topic of the Marines coming in. Again, their arrival in the next 24 hours or so from the 29 Palms base. Chief Jim McDonnell saying the department has not been given any formal notification about the Marines being deployed. However, he says, quote, the possible arrival of federal military forces in LA, absent clear coordination, he says presents a significant logistical and operational challenge for those of us charged with safeguarding our city. McDonnell says the LAPD, alongside our mutual aid partners, have decades of experience managing large-scale public demonstrations. So the response from the LAPD, this is not something that they have asked for. McDonnell saying it is not something that is needed at this point.
Again, we've been saying this over and over, an unprecedented situation we are seeing unfold before us. Governor Gavin Newsom was very clear. LA Mayor Karen Bass was very clear. We heard from Jim McDonnell with the LAPD, and also Sheriff Luna all said we do not need 2,000 National Guard members to come into Los Angeles, and we definitely do not need the 700 Marines now coming from Pendleton. That, again, from local authorities who feel that they do have the resources to manage this situation. It is still a local situation, at least in their minds.
Yeah, it's difficult to balance everything that's happening right now between the federal authorities and local authorities working to keep Los Angeles safe. And Chris, to be fully transparent, we are coming up on our 4 p.m. newscast. Not sure if you're going to need to depart the area and refuel, but wanted to give you that opportunity, or if there's any final words, or if you're sticking with us right now on this extended coverage here on our ABC7 Los Angeles streaming app.
Yeah, we're going to take off in a couple minutes and get some fuel and be here for the rest of the afternoon. One thing to add, we should tell everybody, is that the LAPD is now on tactical alert, citywide tactical alert. They have asked everybody, by the way, earlier this weekend to suspend their vacations and make themselves available for whatever is going to transpire. So we have all the resources that you can imagine available at the disposal of the LAPD. But to your point there about McDonnell's statement there, you know, he really hits the nail on the head, because it's the inclusion of more federal militarized authorities that is going to create more escalation. It's not really meant to alleviate. They are here for one purpose, and we know what that is. Local law enforcement is really trying to mitigate that, to try and mitigate the political disaster from what's happening on our city streets. So it's all so tenuous, and it's just something that we just are not used to seeing, at least in our city.
Yeah, indeed, Chris. And just for those who might just be joining us, point out exactly where this crowd is gathered. This is not Grand Park, right?
This is not Grand Park. A portion of this crowd did start the day over at Grand Park. City Hall is one block over. You can see City Hall right there on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. There were several protests earlier in the day, and now in the last hour, hour and a half, all of those groups have converged on the steps of the federal building on the 700 block of Los Angeles Street right there. They are blocking at least the southbound side now. Earlier they were blocking the entire street, but it looks like some of that southbound, or I should say, they're blocking the northbound side. The southbound traffic is starting to squeeze through there, but the closest protesters are at the bottom of the steps there. At the top of the steps are the line of National Guard troops there. There's about seven steps between the protesters and those guardsmen, so about 8 or 9 feet distance at the front of the building between the protesters who are protesting peacefully and those guardsmen at the top of the steps. It's a little bit of a different situation here at the handicap ramp because about a few dozen have made their way up that ramp to the side of that front entrance and are much closer to those National Guardsmen who are dressed in riot gear with their shields and doing everything they can to resist any kind of a confrontation. They are standing like mannequins, but they are being taunted by a small group of agitators on the side of that entrance.
And Chris, just to be clear, this is the federal building at 300 North Los Angeles, correct?
Is it 300 or?
It's Los Angeles Street, though.
You're right. The 300 block.
Okay, great. So this is not
300 North Los Angeles.
Right. So this is not the detention center where the Friday night protesters gathered and some of the early resistance and violence was happening. Correct.
No, it is. It's the same facility. Go ahead and widen out a little bit, Josh. We'll kind of give you a little bit of a lay of the land here. You have the federal building right there where the crowd is, and right above the federal building on the top right, that red tall building, that's the Roybal Federal Building, which includes the main federal courthouse. And between those two buildings, right there in the center of your screen, push in on the detention center right there, Josh, over to the left, the detention center, over to the left. That building right there, that is the Federal Detention Center, which has been the focal point. On the other side of that building is a whole other skirmish line of National Guardsmen trying to keep anybody from getting near that facility, and you have a buffer zone that LAPD has created to prevent a repeat of what you were talking about, Giovanna. But it all happened right here in this one square block. Almost the entirety of the violence that we've seen in the last 24 hours, if not most of it, was in this one square block here between Temple and Aliso, between the 101, Los Angeles Street, and Alameda. All of this area here is where everything has been taking place. But you do have a bulk of the activity right now all happening on Los Angeles Street, right in front of the main federal building.
And as far as we know, the people who were detained initially in the raids on Friday are still in that detention center. Okay, Chris. All right, again, we're looking at live pictures from Air 7 over. This is the federal building on Los Angeles Street. This is the 300 block of North Los Angeles Street, and you see the crowd gathered there. There are National Guardsmen underneath that sort of the concrete awning there. We've seen them before. You can see them there at the top of the steps there. And Chris is back with us. And Chris, I wanted to ask you, I don't know if you missed the question earlier, the people who were detained on Friday during the raids, as far as we know, they are still in that detention center behind this building.
As far as we know, they remain at this detention center right there at the top of your screen.
Yeah.
At least a portion of them that we are aware of. But they have been pretty tight-lipped, and some of the immigration attorneys, I've seen them on television, demanding to have more details about the movement of those detainees, and obviously they want to know what kind of conditions they are in. So the feds are being pretty tight-lipped as to the exact movements, but as far as we are aware, that is the detention center where they were at least taken on Thursday and then again on Friday.
And Chris, I have another question because I joined in the coverage a little bit later. Is the crowd at Grand Park still there?
The crowd at Grant Park is not there. They have now moved over to the federal building. Grant Park, as far as I know, is pretty much cleared out. That's going to be Grant Park near the bottom of your screen. That's all empty. You can see the City Hall area pretty much vacant there. There are some LAPD standing by. Traffic is open to the public, but the protest activity is all concentrated along the 300 block of Los Angeles Street right there off of the 101 freeway.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, the LAPD is now on citywide tactical alert. We are going to, of course, continue our coverage of these protesters in downtown Los Angeles protesting the federal immigration raids. For now, we're going to take a quick break. Behind you.
you guys holding the line here, the on and off ramps of the 101 freeway, not wanting to see what happened on Sunday and over the weekend where the freeway had to shut down. Essentially, we have National Guard troops in front of us, kind of mixed in here. What are your thoughts, though? Overall, you know, how did the day go for you?
I mean, the day, like Bella said, it was a really peaceful protest. We were first down at Grand, and there was a big crowd, a lot of speakers. And, you know, over here, the crowd's getting larger, but it's remained peaceful. Nobody's throwing anything. Nobody's, you know, people are just exercising their freedom of speech and marching.
Folks show up in gas masks, though. I mean, some have come prepared with bandanas, and they have knee pads on to not get hit by rubber bullets.
Yeah, all the cops, like, they look ready to go. They're batons in hand, rifles in hand.
Ready to have that.
Ready to have that.
I feel like that adds to the aggression, although they're trying to just keep the peace.
For sure, yeah, and they're not saying much. We've asked a couple, where do we go? It's like they have a lot of the train stations blocked. Sort of just, it's difficult. You can't really call an Uber because Ubers can't get in. So, yeah, it's a lot.
It is difficult. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Bella, for the time. Good luck getting home and be safe. You know, we have just seen a bunch of cars get stuck here in a traffic jam, and people just jumping out with signs. We're not even sure how they were able to get through here, because we too are stuck behind these barriers and the blockades, and you can't get off the freeway. So they've really had to take the long route to get around. And that's what we also heard. I was talking to a mom, again, Jamie Klein, who was here yesterday, and the metro was also shut down as she and her husband tried to get back home when things began to escalate. And it seems to be kind of the same situation today. And there are a lot of people, and I predict more will be showing up as the workday comes to an end. And so hopefully things remain peaceful and just remain chanting as they are, you know, making their voices heard, and obviously here to do that, you know, in solidarity, they tell me, you know, showing up like Ashley and Bella with family, with friends. Yesterday, families were out walking around, I was told, kids with their parents. Amy, Juan?
All right, Jasmine, thank you very much. And we'd like to welcome in our viewers here at 4 o'clock. This is KCAL News at 4 o'clock. And we begin with breaking news here at 4. As you see here, a crowd of protesters gathering once again in downtown LA for the 4th consecutive day.
Yes, SkyCal is overhead, and assignment editor Mike Rogers is monitoring from the desk. And Mike, they have been peaceful so far, but we're starting to see these crowds really grow.
Shuffling and moving around, Mike.
Yeah, and it looks like there was a bit of a fight between themselves. We saw just a couple minutes ago while Jasmine was talking, one person kind of get into a clash with another person, and then all of a sudden we are starting to see this group kind of run a little bit. So I'm not sure exactly what they're running from. Law enforcement has not moved in here at all. So they're there. I mean, we've got the National Guard that has been on the steps of the federal building. LAPD, CHP are certainly in the area, but nobody has actually pushed the crowd or done anything like that. So I can't.
Ready to take your nursing career to the next level? Upstate Medical University's RN to Bachelor of Science in Nursing program is designed for licensed RNs looking to advance. Fully online and flexible, it can be completed in as little as 16 months. Perfect for working professionals.
So that's, you know, kind of what they're looking at right now. So unclear exactly what prompted all this and what started all of this. But this is,
and is that the guy, Mike, that we see right there, the one who was hit?
Yeah, and he's got, I can't tell if that's an Adidas shirt or what it is, but yeah, that's the guy that was hit. He is bleeding from the head. It looks like they maybe have separated him enough from the group of people that were trying to go after him. So it's unclear exactly what, you know, they were doing that for. But yeah, hopefully they'll, you know, have to treat that head wound. He was bleeding a little bit.
Yeah, we saw it kind of like this fight started like on Los Angeles Street, and they went around the building, and then this is kind of like where they've ended up.
Me, Mason watched the movie, and the entire time I was like, Mason, this is so cute. And he was like, yes, I know. And I kept being like, no, you don't understand.
Why I'm so in love with Toothless, and why I think so many other people too, is a lot of people have pets, and they love them so much, and they can see a lot of it.
Rescue ambulance for that man to at least get treated. So
yeah, it's interesting though, Mike, how, I mean, this crowd is not backing up.
There we go.
Boy. Yeah, I was just saying that
that
officer is trying to get this person away from this crowd, and the crowd just seems to be taunting them and not backing off. And now we've seen the officer actually swing at this crowd. We see that the baton's out.
Less lethal.
Less lethal as well.
What they need to do is get this guy out of the area, Mike. If this is the problem and he's the, you know, what's creating this problem, they should have him, you know, just leave as quickly as they can.
And get him out of there. And those officers, there's not enough officers. There's, you know, you got what, 4 officers there that are trying to deal, and excuse us while we're moving out of the way of this building here, but you got 4 officers there that are trying to, you know, tend to this guy and figure out how injured he is, and, you know, figure out also why this is happening. Okay, here's a couple more police cars. So yeah, you're right, Juan. They do need to get him out of there, or at least whoever is really intent on going after that guy. They
diffuse the situation,
take that guy into custody or do something here.
You know, we have been talking about how peaceful the protests have been. We hadn't seen much going on besides, you know, the drums and the people chanting, and now we've seen this man here in this looks like a gray or olive-colored hoodie, the Adidas hoodie. We did see that he was bleeding.
Now it looks like he's giving a press conference.
Well, it looks like the officer is kind of tapping him on the shoulder, like, "Hey, buddy, like, keep it quiet here. Just let's calm things down."
All those cameras pointed at him now, though.
Yeah, and we don't know what started this in the first place, what he was saying or what was happening that turned some of these people against him. We do know that they were throwing water bottles at him. People were taking swings at him. And we don't know who he is or why they have turned on him, but we definitely saw him get chased to this area. And now we've got a handful of officers that are trying to surround him and keep this crowd away from him.
We got 5 officers, Mike, right? Do you see 5 officers like kind of keeping the crowd away from him right now?
2 patrol cars there with, probably, it should be 5 officers. It's kind of hard to tell. 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4, maybe 5. Yeah. But, you know, what's hard too also is so much of the crowd is wearing black, which is the same color that, well, I guess LAPD is technically a dark navy blue, but, you know, the colors get similar and it gets difficult to see. But you see those, 5 officers, Juan, you're right, with shields kind of blocking this guy. But what's the plan? I mean, they got to get him out of there.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what's going to happen. It just goes to show you how quickly things can change out there. Peaceful protests can quickly, you know, just change. And right now things are calm. Officers have arrived. We don't know the story of this guy with the hoodie there, but as we saw just a short time ago, protesters were not happy that he was there.
Yeah, and it looks like some of those folks are starting to move away again from this person that police have surrounded. It seems like they are trying to get him to safety. They do have a couple of their cars there behind that line of people. It is interesting to see many of them have their phones lifted up, recording this person. We still don't know who he is. Right. We do want to, you know, switch gears a little bit here and go to our Jasmine Veal, who is also on the ground. We've been checking in with her. Jasmine, we've seen our first little bit of a skirmish here with some folks. And officers have tried to protect someone. We don't know who this man is, but some of the other protesters seem to have turned on him, throwing water bottles. A couple of people have hit him, and we're trying to get an idea of what things are looking like in your area now.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's remaining peaceful, at least on this side, but you know, it's hot. People have been handing out water. Things can escalate pretty quickly if you get one group or someone upset at someone else. People have been being dropped off. Some of them, you know, showing up dressed fully in their own type of riot gear, you know, appearing to look like they are prepared for anything, right? With gas masks, with knee pads on, with gloves on, with masks on. And then you have others out here, moms and sisters and brothers who just are holding signs and banners, wanting to just get the message out that they want to put an end, they say, to deportation. They want ICE out of here. They say they want the National Guard out of here. But the CHP, the LAPD, and that riot gear holding the line here on the street in front of the buildings. And many have been telling me that they need more peaceful bodies out here, not the violence, and described how things really escalated on Sunday. Take a look. On South Broadway, cleaning crews painting over graffiti Monday that lined several blocks in downtown LA. Making repairs to buildings with smashed glass along Los Angeles Street. And tow trucks removing burned Waymo cars hours after protests escalated into violence and destruction Sunday night.
It was mayhem.
What was that? Alicia DeQuina lives in downtown and says the actions of a few overshadow the main message of protest.
So they're sending in reinforcements now, but this spot kind of de-escalated anyway. What I was trying to explain to my audience here is that there was a couple of individuals who showed up apparently with opposing viewpoints, and basically they got chased. One of them got, beat up okay. And the side of his face was bloody, but it was a little scary because that guy pulled a knife. I don't know if anybody actually got cut by it, but in the end the police kind of forced them to separate. And now the police are pushing people back from the area that little fight ended in.
People, they're not being violent.
Again, even though those police showed up to kind of reinforce that, it had already de-escalated. So the spot that I'm heading back toward is the kind of the original front line before that little thing moved over here.
Who are the suspect or the perpetrator. So I just wanted to be clear on my position. Do you know what I mean? Because it's easy to try to discredit someone to say they hate women. That's not true. My favorite wrestler is a woman. My favorite author is a woman. My favorite nutritionist is a woman. My favorite people are generally women. I get it. You're not allowed to show any emotion or have any kind of... It would be easier if we treated each other, we talked nicely to one another. It would make it better for the society in general. No? Nothing? Can't give anything, huh? Okay, I got you. All right, well, listen, be safe. Just remember, I'm not going to throw anything at you guys. There's no reason to shoot me with rubber bullets, all right? I'm not going to attack you guys, okay? I don't want to fight you, all right? Most people don't. All right, I'm going to walk around that courthouse. I'll see you guys in a little while, okay? I hope we can be better friends next time I come over here. All right. See, I dramatically disagree with this. I dramatically disagree with graffitiing and breaking, and I disagree with this. I mean, I strongly disagree with it. I think this is wrong. I don't think we should do this to our buildings. I don't think we should ruin. I don't think we should do that. I think it's wrong. So. So we're gonna walk up on a bunch of protesters here real quick. How you guys doing? My name's Chili. All about control. You too, brother. You are a protester, bro. He's got it. It's tattooed on his chest. Check his chest. Check his chest. He's got a protester on his chest. You'll be safe, man. There's lots of cops around here.
But you're the officer who just pushed me.
Well, so then you're not safe from who? From the officers. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. So you just said it. Who are you not safe from? The cops. The cops are going to push you. Oh God. You're labeled a protester forever now. You're a cop. You're a cop protester. You're a protester, bro. Hey, don't shoot me today, Rifkin. You hear me? Rifkin. Don't shoot me today. I got shot yesterday. I mean, I thought I was on. Am I on this side? Where's going to make you more comfortable, officer? Okay, I'll stay on this side then for you. Okay. That way I'm not obstructing. Okay. Did you see that Australian reporter get shot with the rubber bullet? Did you see that on the news? It was pretty bad. No? I mean, you were friendly with that guy. Is it because I'm not Asian? If I was Asian, would you be more friendly with me? You were friendly with that guy. I was just trying to be a friend, man.